The massive Imperial survey ship hung silently in the darkness of space, its sensors focused on the blue-green planet below. On the bridge, Admiral Thex stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his gray skin reflecting the soft glow of holographic displays surrounding him. "Most interesting," he muttered, watching footage of human aircraft engaging in combat. The dated recording showed what the Empire considered primitive jets launching missiles at each other. "Play the ground combat footage again." The holographic display shifted to show humans fighting in what they called urban warfare. Soldiers moved through broken buildings, using simple radio communications and basic projectile weapons. What caught the Admiral's attention wasn't their technology, it was their adaptability. "Sir," his second-in-command spoke up, "High Command wants our initial assessment of the species." Admiral Thex nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving the display. "Tell me, Commander Reed, what do you see in these humans?" The commander straightened his uniform. "Primitive weapons, basic space capability, internal conflicts, standard Class 3 civilization. Sir, barely worth noting in the expansion records." "Look closer." Thex pointed to a new video showing humans fighting in different terrains: deserts, jungles, mountains, and Arctic regions. "Notice how they adapt to each environment. Their tactics change completely based on their surroundings." Commander Reed shrugged. "Many species can adapt, sir." "Not like this." Thex zoomed in on a group of soldiers creating an improvised explosive from local materials. "They don't just adapt, they innovate. They take whatever is available and turn it into a weapon." The bridge fell silent as more footage played across the screens. Humans fighting with whatever they had, using everything from advanced missiles to sharpened sticks. They fought in organized armies and in small guerrilla groups. They fought with rules and without them. "Send a message to High Command," Thex ordered. "Recommend careful diplomatic approach. Standard colonization protocols may need modification." 3 days later, the response came. The Imperial High Command dismissed his concerns entirely. The message was clear: proceed with standard expansion procedures. Earth would be offered the usual choice: join the Empire or be conquered. Admiral Thex read the order twice before calling an emergency meeting with his staff. The ship's main conference room filled with officers, all watching their usually calm admiral pace back and forth. "They're making a mistake," he said finally. "These humans, they're different. Look at their entertainment broadcasts." He played clips from human movies and television shows. Scenes of aliens invading Earth played out, showing humans fighting back against overwhelming odds. "They've been preparing for us without even knowing we exist. They've imagined every possible way we might come, and they've created countless scenarios about how they would fight back." "Sir," a young analyst spoke up, "they're just stories." "Stories shape thinking," Thex countered. "And their real history is even more telling. Pull up the file on their World War II." The display showed the massive conflict that had engulfed their planet less than a century ago. Look at how fast they advanced. From primitive aircraft to jets. From basic radio to radar. From mechanical computers to atomic weapons. All in 6 years. The room grew quiet as the implications sank in. These humans didn't just fight. They evolved during conflict. They didn't just adapt to war. They thrived in it. High Command sees a primitive species that barely controls its own solar system. Thex continued. "I see a species that turned their entire planet into a testing ground for warfare. Every climate, every terrain, every possible condition. They've fought in it all." He pulled up one final image, a human military ceremony. "They even admire their enemies. Look how they respect worthy opponents. They study them, learn from them. And then," he paused, "they become better than them." The warning report he sent to High Command was detailed, passionate, and completely ignored. The Empire had conquered thousands of worlds. Their technology was centuries ahead of Earth's. Their fleet was invincible, or so they believed. As Admiral Thex watched his ship pull away from Earth orbit, He couldn't shake the feeling that the Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson. High Command saw humans as primitive, but he saw something else. A species that had turned war into an art form, conflict into a science, and adaptation into a way of life. The Empire wasn't going to war with a primitive species. They were going to war with humanity. And Thex suspected that distinction would cost them dearly. The Imperial diplomatic vessel Star Crown emerged from hyperspace above Earth, its golden hull gleaming in the sunlight. The ship was massive, 3 miles long, and designed to impress primitive species with its grandeur. Captain Miller of the United Earth Defense Force watched it appear on his station's main screen. "That's one big ship," he muttered, turning to his communications officer. "Any signals?" Before the officer could respond, every screen, radio, and communication device on Earth lit up with the same message. The Empire had arrived, and they were demanding humanity's immediate attention. In the United Nations Emergency Council chamber, world leaders gathered to watch the Imperial ambassador's holographic projection. The alien stood tall, his gray skin and ornate uniform creating an imposing figure. "People of Earth," the ambassador began, his translator converting his words to all Earth languages simultaneously. "The Galactic Empire welcomes you to a new era. Your planet has been chosen for integration into our great society." President Thompson of the North American Alliance leaned forward. "And if we choose not to be integrated?" The ambassador's expression didn't change. "Choice is an illusion here. You will be integrated. The only choice is whether it happens peacefully or not. You have 24 hours to submit your surrender." The transmission cut off, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Then the arguing began. In orbit, Admiral Thex watched the proceedings from his personal command ship. He had requested to be present, hoping to prevent disaster. The diplomatic vessel's commander, Lord Rex, stood smugly on his bridge. "See, Admiral, your warnings were unnecessary. They're primitive, just like all the others. They'll submit, just like all the others." Thex wasn't so sure. His intelligence team had intercepted thousands of human communications since the announcement. They weren't panicking. They were planning. Back on Earth, in a hardened bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Stone addressed the newly formed United Earth Defense Council. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've trained for this. Every major military on Earth has protocols for alien contact. Yes, their technology is advanced. Yes, their ship is impressive. But remember, they're asking for surrender. That means they expect resistance." In London, Dr. Anderson's team was already analyzing the Imperial transmission. "The fact that they can broadcast to all our devices means they understand our technology. If they understand it, we can use it against them." The next 20 hours saw the fastest cooperation in human history. Former enemies shared military secrets. Scientists from rival nations pooled their research. Weapons were distributed, plans were made, and humanity prepared for war. When the 24-hour deadline approached, the Imperial ambassador's hologram appeared again before the UN Council. "Your time is up. What is your answer?" President Thompson stood, straightened his tie, and delivered humanity's response. "We've had a vote. Every nation on Earth participated. The result was unanimous." He paused, looking directly at the hologram. "We decline your offer." The ambassador's face showed the first real emotion since his arrival. Anger. "You don't understand. We're not offering you a choice. The Empire spans thousands of worlds. Our technology is centuries beyond yours. Resistance is." "Let me stop you right there," Thompson interrupted. "We understand perfectly. You're bigger, stronger, and more advanced. But here's what you don't understand." He stepped closer to the hologram. "Humans don't submit. Ever. We've spent our entire history fighting against overwhelming odds. It's kind of our thing." In orbit, Admiral Thex watched the exchange with growing concern. The humans weren't acting like any species he'd seen before. They weren't afraid. If anything, they seemed eager. The ambassador's hologram flickered with rage. Then you choose war. No, Thompson replied calmly. You chose war when you demanded surrender. We're just choosing to be ourselves. As the transmission ended, Lord Rex ordered the diplomatic vessel to pull back. Deploy the invasion fleet, he commanded. Standard pacification protocol. On his own ship, Admiral Thex watched the human leaders leaving the UN building. They weren't running. They were walking purposefully, confidently, like soldiers heading to their posts. They're not going to submit, he whispered to himself. And we're not ready for what comes next. In military bases across Earth, soldiers prepared for battle. In laboratories, scientists studied the Imperial transmission data, and in homes across the planet, humans did what they'd always done in the face of overwhelming odds. They got ready to fight. The Empire was about to learn why humans wrote so many stories about defeating alien invaders. They weren't stories. They were practice. The Imperial invasion fleet dropped out of hyperspace in waves, their massive ships darkening Earth's skies. 500 warships, each carrying enough firepower to level a city. The Empire expected a quick victory. They were wrong. General Stone stood in the Global Defense Command Center, watching the enemy ships take position. Are the trap nets ready? Yes, sir, Captain Miller reported. Old fishing nets coated with the carbon fiber mesh, just like you ordered. The enemy won't see them on their scanners. The general smiled. The Empire's ships were advanced, but they weren't looking for simple solutions. They expected missiles and energy weapons, not clouds of nearly invisible nets waiting to tangle their engines. In orbit, Lord Rex watched the deployment with satisfaction. Begin the standard attack pattern. Target their major cities first. The Imperial ships moved forward in perfect formation. Too perfect. They never saw the nets until their engines started failing. 20 ships spun out of control in the first minute. Impossible. Lord Rex shouted. How are they disrupting our engines with their primitive technology? Admiral Thex, watching from his command ship, knew better. The humans hadn't tried to match Imperial technology. They'd found a simple solution that worked. Launch the fighters. Lord Rex ordered. Thousands of small attack craft poured from the Imperial ships. On Earth, General Stone gave his next order. Release the drones. Millions of small drones lifted off from hidden locations worldwide. Each one was simple, cheap, and carried a small explosive charge. They weren't advanced enough to be detected by Imperial sensors, which were calibrated for more sophisticated threats. Sir, an Imperial officer reported, we're detecting some kind of primitive remote devices. The first wave of drones struck. They weren't trying to destroy the Imperial fighters. They were ramming them, attaching themselves, and disrupting flight patterns. The Imperial pilots, trained to fight advanced enemies, found themselves swatting at swarms of what seemed like mechanical insects. Second phase, General Stone commanded. Show them what humanity does best. The real Earth fighters launched next. They were older models, hastily upgraded with reversed engineered technology from studying the Imperial broadcasts. What they lacked in technology, they made up for in pilot skill and unconventional tactics. Imperial pilots, used to fighting in organized formations, found themselves facing humans who fought like guerrilla warriors in space. Earth pilots used debris as cover, flew patterns that seemed suicidal, and coordinated in ways that made no sense to Imperial tactical computers. They're not supposed to be able to do this. Lord Rex raged as another group of his fighters went down. Their technology is inferior. Their technology is inferior. Admiral Thex agreed, watching the battle unfold. But their tactics are superior. They're not trying to match us. They're making us fight on their terms. On Earth, Dr. Anderson's team activated their next surprise. During the 24 hours before the battle, they had reprogrammed every satellite in orbit to emit specific frequencies. Now those frequencies were disrupting Imperial shields. Their shields are specialized against energy weapons, Dr. Anderson explained to the military command. They never considered we might attack the shield frequency itself. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best. The battle in orbit turned chaotic. Imperial ships, designed for grand fleet actions, found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to follow any rules of engagement. Human fighters would hide behind disabled Imperial ships, using their own vessels as shields. The nets continued causing havoc. Drones swarmed any ship that slowed down. "Retreat," Lord Rex finally ordered, his voice shaking. Full retreat. As the Imperial fleet pulled back, Admiral Thex noted something disturbing. The humans had barely used any of their nuclear weapons. They had held back their most powerful tools, instead focusing on creative solutions that couldn't be easily countered. "They're learning," he realized. "They're studying how we fight." On Earth, celebrations broke out as the Imperial fleet disappeared into hyperspace. But in the command center, General Stone was already planning. "They'll be back," he told his staff, "with more ships and new tactics. But now we know something important. They can be beaten." Dr. Anderson nodded. "And we've captured some of their technology. Imperial ships that were disabled by the nets. Their defeat today will make our victory tomorrow easier." The first battle was over. The Empire had suffered its first major fleet defeat in 10,000 years, and humanity was just getting started. The Imperial High Command Room fell silent as Lord Rex finished his report about the fleet's defeat. The highest-ranking military leaders of the Empire sat in shocked disbelief. Their perfect record of victories, spanning 10,000 years, was broken. "Send in the elite guard," High Commander Vale ordered, his voice cold with anger. "No more diplomatic vessels. No more standard invasion fleets. Send everything." Admiral Thex watched the massive deployment from his observation post. 2,000 warships, including the feared Dark Fleet, ships painted with light-absorbing material, nearly invisible in space. The elite Imperial Guard had never failed a mission. On Earth, General Stone studied the incoming fleet data. "They're adapting. Those black ships won't be fooled by our nets this time. Then we'll give them something new to worry about," Dr. Anderson replied, pointing to her latest creation. Earth's scientists had been busy, reverse engineering every piece of Imperial technology they could salvage from the first battle. The elite guard struck hard and fast. Their black ships appeared suddenly in Earth's atmosphere, targeting military bases. But humanity had prepared for this. Underground bases, built in the days following first contact, housed Earth's forces. As Imperial troops landed for the first time on Earth's surface, they found empty buildings and abandoned cities. "Where are they?" Elite Commander Voss demanded, scanning the empty streets of New York. His answer came in the form of a massive explosion. Not from above or below, but from the buildings themselves. The humans, Admiral Thex explained to his staff, turned their own cities into weapons. Every building, every street, every piece of infrastructure was rigged to trap our forces. The elite guard, trained to fight advanced enemies with advanced weapons, found themselves in a nightmare. Humans appeared from hidden tunnels, struck with devastating force, and disappeared again. Imperial soldiers, used to fighting with superior technology, faced an enemy that turned everything into a weapon. In London, Imperial troops discovered why humans were so dangerous on the ground. A squad of elite guards, advancing down a street, was suddenly attacked by locals using modified Imperial weapons combined with Earth technology. "Sir," an Imperial soldier reported back to Commander Voss, "the humans, they're not just using our weapons. They're improving them, making them deadlier." The elite guard's sophisticated combat computers couldn't predict human behavior. Humans didn't follow any standard combat doctrine. They mixed ancient warfare tactics with modern technology. They set traps using both high-tech explosives and simple pitfalls. In orbit, the Dark Fleet faced its own problems. Human scientists had developed a new type of paint that, when hit by Imperial scanners, glowed brightly. Every human ship was covered in it. The elite guard's invisible ships now faced an enemy that could see them clearly. "Impossible," Commander Voss shouted as another elite squad went dark. They're supposed to be primitive. But the true horror for the Imperial forces came from something they hadn't expected: psychological warfare. Humans broadcast images of elite guard defeats on frequencies they knew the Imperial ships would detect. They left messages in dead Imperial soldiers' comm systems, telling others what was waiting for them. Admiral Thex received disturbing reports from the front lines. Elite guards, the Empire's finest warriors, were starting to show signs of psychological trauma. They weren't prepared for an enemy that could be anywhere, that would use anything as a weapon, that seemed to almost enjoy the challenge of finding new ways to fight. "Sir," Captain Miller reported to General Stone, "the elite guard is pulling back from major cities. They're regrouping in orbit." Dr. Anderson smiled as she watched the retreating Imperial forces. "They still don't understand. Every battle teaches us more about their technology. Every retreat gives us more salvage to study. They're not just losing, they're making us stronger." The elite guard, in its entire history, had never retreated. But as Commander Voss watched another black ship explode under human attack, he gave the order no elite commander had ever given before. "Full retreat. We need new tactics." Admiral Thex added another observation to his growing file on human warfare. "They don't just fight wars," he wrote. "They evolve through them. The longer this war continues, the more dangerous they become." The Empire's elite guard had failed. And somewhere in Imperial High Command, the first whispers of real fear began to spread. 3 months after the elite guard's retreat, Earth revealed what it had been building in secret. In underground factories worldwide, humans had created something the Empire had never seen before: warships that combined Imperial technology with human ingenuity. Dr. Anderson stood proudly in front of Earth's first hybrid battleship, the Thunderchild. It looked nothing like the elegant Imperial vessels. It was ugly, with thick armor and visible weapons pods. It hadn't been built to look good. It had been built to fight. "Time to show them what we can really do," General Stone said, addressing the combined Earth fleet. "Operation Hammer begins now." The human fleet jumped into hyperspace using reverse-engineered Imperial drives. But these weren't normal hyperspace jumps. Dr. Anderson's team had modified the drives to do something the Empire considered impossible: make short, rapid jumps in combat. Admiral Thex watched in horror as the human fleet appeared inside Imperial defense lines. The Empire's warships, designed for long-range combat, suddenly found Earth ships appearing practically on top of them. "How are they jumping so precisely?" Lord Rex demanded, watching another Imperial defense station fall to the human attack. "The calculations should take hours." "They're not calculating safely," Admiral Thex realized. "They're taking risks we would never consider. Their ships are jumping blind, trusting their pilots' instincts over computers." The human fleet struck deep into Imperial space. Their hybrid ships combined Imperial energy weapons with simple human ballistic weapons. When Imperial shields blocked energy attacks, old-fashioned tungsten rods traveling at near-light speed smashed through their hulls. On the Imperial capital world, High Commander Vale received disturbing reports. 3 sector fleets had gone silent. 5 more reported heavy losses, but worse than the military defeats was the effect on Imperial civilians. "Sir," a junior officer reported, "we're getting requests from multiple worlds. They want to open diplomatic relations with Earth." The humans had started broadcasting messages to Imperial civilian populations. They weren't threats. Instead, they showed Imperial citizens something they had never seen before: their mighty elite guard running from battle. "Another Imperial defense fleet has surrendered," Captain Miller reported to General Stone. "They're asking for asylum." This was part of the human battle plan too. Every Imperial ship that surrendered was treated with respect. Their crews were given a choice: help humanity fight the Empire, or sit out the war in comfortable internment. Many chose to help. The Empire's rigid control had created hidden resentment among its forces. The humans offered something the Empire never had: the freedom to think differently. Dr. Anderson's team worked with Imperial defectors to create even more devastating weapons. They taught the aliens something the Empire had forgotten: how to innovate, how to think creatively, how to improve. "Look at this," an Imperial scientist said, working alongside Dr. Anderson. "We never thought to combine technologies this way. The Empire always insisted on pure Imperial tech, but mixing them, the possibilities are endless." The human advance couldn't be stopped because it couldn't be predicted. Some ships used pure Imperial technology. Others used pure human tech. Most used combinations that Imperial computers couldn't analyze properly. Admiral Thex watched another battle recording. Human ships were fighting in ways that defied Imperial military doctrine. They used debris as weapons, created impromptu minefields with modified satellites, and coordinated attacks that looked like chaos, but struck with deadly precision. "We didn't just underestimate their technology," he wrote in his report. "We underestimated their ability to understand and improve our technology. They're not just using our weapons, they're making them better." In the Empire's Grand Council chamber, panic was setting in. Reports showed human-inspired rebellions breaking out on frontier worlds. Imperial citizens were demanding reforms, asking why humans had more freedom than they did. "They're not just defeating our military," High Commander Vale realized. "They're changing our society just by existing." General Stone looked at the star map showing human fleet positions. In 3 months, they had taken a quarter of Imperial space, not through overwhelming force, but through a combination of military might, psychological warfare, and something the Empire had never mastered: the ability to offer a better way. The Empire had started this war expecting to teach humans their place in the galaxy. Instead, humanity was teaching the galaxy what freedom looked like. The Imperial Palace, once a symbol of unquestioned power, now echoed with the sounds of argument and panic. High Commander Vale watched helplessly as his perfect empire crumbled from within. 40 more worlds have declared independence," an aide reported, his hands shaking. "They're asking for human protection. Our own citizens are turning against us." Admiral Thex stood silently in the corner, watching the crisis unfold. He had warned them about humans from the start. Now he was about to make the hardest decision of his life. On his private command ship, Thex recorded his final message to the Empire. "I warned you about humanity. You didn't listen. Now I must do what's right." He sent the message, then ordered his entire fleet to change course, toward Earth. General Stone was reviewing battle plans when the news arrived. "Sir, Admiral Thex's fleet is approaching. They're broadcasting surrender codes and offering comprehensive data on Imperial defenses." The defection of Admiral Thex marked a turning point. He didn't just bring ships and soldiers, he brought knowledge. Complete maps of Imperial space, defense codes, secret protocols, everything humanity needed to strike at the Empire's heart. Dr. Anderson worked through the night with her team, analyzing the new data. "Look at this," she told General Stone. "The Empire's entire communication network runs on the same basic protocols. They never changed them because no one ever challenged them before." The humans struck the next day. But they didn't attack with ships. They attacked with information. Using Imperial communication channels, they broadcast proof of the Empire's lies, showed how the ruling council had kept technology from developing, revealed how they had suppressed innovation to maintain control. "Sir," Captain Miller reported to General Stone, "Imperial citizens are rioting on 300 worlds. They're using our broadcasts as proof of Imperial corruption." The Empire's response was predictable. They tried to crush the riots with force. But their soldiers had seen too much. Many refused to fire on their own people. Others openly joined the rebels. Lord Rex, once proud and confident, now sat in his command room watching his empire tear itself apart. "How?" he whispered. "How did they do this to us?" The answer came from an Imperial scientist who had defected to Earth. "The humans didn't just beat us with weapons. They showed us what we could be. They proved that mixing technologies, cultures, and ideas makes everyone stronger. In the imperial capital, the crisis reached its peak. Imperial citizens, inspired by human broadcasts, demanded the right to elect their leaders. When elite guards refused to suppress the protests, the Imperial Council faced a choice: reform or fall. Admiral Thex, now working with Earth's military command, explained the Empire's fundamental weakness. We made everything uniform. Same weapons, same tactics, same thoughts. Humans showed the galaxy that diversity makes you stronger. The rebellion spread faster than anyone expected. Imperial worlds didn't just want independence. They wanted to form alliances with Earth. They wanted to learn human ways of thinking, of innovating, of living. Another sector has fallen. High Commander Vale announced to the Council, but not to human weapons. Our own people are overthrowing imperial governors. They're setting up governments based on human models. Dr. Anderson's team continued to develop new technologies, now working openly with scientists from rebellious imperial worlds. Together, they created innovations that neither humanity nor the Empire could have developed alone. This is what the Empire feared. Admiral Thex told General Stone, "Not your weapons or tactics. They feared that you would show people a better way to live. And you did." The Empire tried one last desperate move. They threatened to destroy any world that rebelled. But humanity had planned for this too. Earth ships appeared in orbit around Imperial weapons facilities, using Thex's codes to disable them before they could be used. "Check," General Stone said quietly, watching the Imperial fleet's final defense line crumble. And soon, checkmate. The empire that had stood for 10,000 years was facing its end. Not just military defeat, but complete cultural transformation. They had tried to force humanity to submit to their way of life. Instead, humanity had shown the galaxy that there was another way to live. Admiral Thex looked out at Earth's fleet, now joined by ships from hundreds of freed worlds. The Empire's greatest mistake, he wrote in his final report, was not underestimating human weapons. It was underestimating human ideas. The Imperial Palace's Grand Hall, which had seen 10,000 years of absolute rule, now hosted something entirely new: peace negotiations. Representatives from Earth sat on one side, former Imperial worlds on another, and what remained of the Empire's Council on the third. General Stone studied the Imperial leaders carefully. 6 months ago, they demanded our surrender. Now they're here to negotiate their own. Admiral Thex, now Earth's chief advisor on Imperial matters, stood beside him. They still don't fully understand what happened. They think they just lost a war. They don't realize they lost their way of thinking. President Thompson led Earth's delegation. When the Imperial High Commander Vale stood to speak, everyone fell silent. The Empire, Vale began, his voice heavy, offers its complete surrender to Earth and its allies. But President Thompson raised his hand. "We don't want your surrender. We want something more important: change." Dr. Anderson stepped forward, displaying holographic images of new technologies, creations that combine the best of human innovation with imperial science. This is what happens when we work together, when we share ideas instead of forcing them. The terms of the new galactic order were unlike anything the Empire had imagined. Earth didn't want to control the galaxy. They wanted to open it up. First, President Thompson announced, every world gets the right to choose its own government. Imperial worlds, Earth, new colonies, all equal. Captain Miller watched from his ship in orbit as the news spread across space. On thousands of worlds, people celebrated not just the end of the war, but the beginning of something new. Second, Thompson continued, technology will be shared, not controlled. The Empire's practice of restricting innovation ends today. Dr. Anderson's team had already begun establishing joint research centers across former Imperial space. Scientists from hundreds of worlds working together, combining their knowledge in ways the Empire had always forbidden. Third, Thompson looked directly at the Imperial Council, Earth will maintain a buffer zone to protect free worlds. But we won't impose our will on others. That was your mistake." Admiral Thex nodded approvingly. The humans had learned from the Empire's errors. They understood that forcing unity only bred resistance. In the following days, the galaxy changed faster than anyone expected. Imperial worlds didn't just accept human ideas, they embraced them. Innovation flourished. Different species began working together, sharing their unique perspectives. "Look at this," Dr. Anderson told General Stone, showing him reports from across the galaxy. "Worlds that never communicated are now trading ideas. They're creating technologies we never dreamed of." The Imperial Council issued its final official act, a galaxy-wide warning about humans, but not the warning they had planned 6 months ago. "Be warned," the message read, "humans will change you. Not through force, but through ideas. They will show you better ways to think, to create, to live. And once you see these new ways, you can never go back." Captain Miller, patrolling the new buffer zone, received messages from dozens of worlds requesting cultural exchange programs with Earth. They didn't want Earth's weapons. They wanted Earth's creativity, its diversity, its endless drive to improve. The Empire spent 10,000 years trying to keep the galaxy the same. Admiral Thex explained to a group of former Imperial officers. "Humans showed us that real strength comes from embracing change." In the new Galactic Senate, where representatives from all worlds could speak freely, a former Imperial governor summed up what many were thinking. "We thought we were supreme beings, bringing order to the galaxy. Then humans showed us we were just beings afraid of change." President Thompson stood on the deck of the Thunderchild, watching ships from 100 worlds moving peacefully through space. Some were Imperial designs, some human, most a mix of both. All of them represented something new: freedom to choose, to change, to grow. "We didn't just win a war," he told General Stone. "We started a revolution. Not with weapons, but with ideas." The final irony wasn't lost on Admiral Thex. The Empire had attacked Earth fearing that humans would disrupt their perfect order. In doing so, they had brought about exactly what they feared. But the result wasn't chaos. It was progress. As the new age began, humans found themselves at the center of a changed galaxy, not as conquerors or rulers, but as teachers, innovators, and proof that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't technology or military might. It was the freedom to think differently.